So the burial and rejection of Jesus Christ refers to the burial and rejection of the soul. This is a parallel that's not a coincidence. A lot of people don't like the soul because it makes them feel like there's no ground. It makes them feel like they're going to disappear into thin air. Now, the trick about this is that it's the total opposite. So my advice is to allow those feelings to be there. Now, it's not going to be comfortable all the time, so you might need to allow those feelings for a while and then maybe take a break from them and then come back to them when you feel more comfortable and find your grounding. It's really easy to be terrorized and to feel stuck. There's like a feeling of being frozen, like you can't do anything, and it's a feeling of being choked to death almost. Again, it's the opposite. In the long run, it's the opposite, and it's too difficult not to do the work of coming into terms with the soul. Without the soul, there's no self-worth, and without self-worth, there's no self-love. Without self-love, there's no love of others. And what happens is, on an unconscious level, we're trying to compensate for this feeling of lack through relationships, careers, religion. And the spiral's out of control after a while, because multiply that by 7 million people on the world, 7 billion people. Multiply that by 7 billion people in the world, and we know that we have a problem on our hands. It's a social issue. And the problem is not a lot of people are aware that it's a social issue and that it's even an issue. And that's the way the adversary likes it. The adversary is very, very secretive. It wants to keep its tactics a secret, because once we start to find out about it, it loses its power. So the first way to combat unconscious lack of self-worth is by being aware, right? Awareness of what's going on. So, for instance, what we can do, for an example, is when we go home, we can try to piece together every single way that we're holding on to this identity of ourselves, this personality. Well, why am I hanging on to this? What's so important about it? Why can't I let go? Why do I feel so stuck? It's a process of reverse engineering. And eventually, if you do this enough, if you make this a way of life, it can lead to spiritual awakening. If you're sincere about it and you do it 100% of the time, you'll start to reverse engineer the personality and unravel these layers. And with each successive layer, you get increasingly closer to the infinite, eternal part of yourself. And it's a feeling of liberation and a feeling of infinite freedom, unconditional freedom. Now, it's a very difficult thing. Now, I'm not saying it's easy, and it's just a matter of being aware and having the knowledge. And I think, for me, it would have been easier if someone had told me ahead of time about all this. But I had to find out for myself, because the system is designed for us not to do this work. It wants to keep us away from the soul because it's not profitable, right? So there's a collective personality, not just the individual personality, but the collective personality. It has these tactics. It has been in existence for centuries. It has thousands of years to develop its game plan and its strategy. It lives in the fabric of society, in standards, in rules, in judgment, in the school systems, right? It's everywhere around us, in the social system, in the religious systems. And this collective personality tells us what to do. It tells us what's good and what's bad. And that's okay. I'm not saying, to disregard the rules and the standards. We need these types of things for society to be civil. But we also need to see how that can actually separate us from the true, infinite, eternal part of ourselves.